Hello, today we're looking at a Talk Read, Talk Write using Perimeter 3.7b. And this video is geared more towards teachers. If you haven't used Talk Read, Talk Write in your classroom, I highly encourage you to do so. It's really effective because it includes everything: reading, writing, speaking. The students are able to share. So this is just a quick little intro and something you can use in your classroom for Perimeter to get the students engaged in talking. Okay, so your first talk number one, would be to give the students the scenario. And if you notice, there's no numbers, and that's actually intentional. When there's numbers, the students and adults, we get fixed on the numbers and just trying to solve it really quickly. And we want the kids to actually stop and think about what's actually happening in the story. So it says, if Ms. Chavero had to build a new fence around Pink Elementary, how would she know how much material to buy? So at this point, you would have the students try and talk. You should have a method in your class of how you want the students to talk. They should have an AB partner or random, whatever system you have in place for the students to talk. And they will use this sentence right here. Ms. Chavero will know how much material to buy because, and so making sure they use that stem to share. So you can have them share with a partner and then share with you as a class. So you should have already talked about perimeter words. And let me just show you real quick. Go back to these are perimeter words that I usually have the students glue in their journals. You can have all these words right here are perimeter words. So fence, border, trim, distance around, frame, outside, exterior, edging, baseboards, dimensions, measurements. These are words they'll see, and they're kind of clue for them that the problem will be a perimeter problem. Okay, so going back to our Talk Read, Talk Write. So this talk number one is just to get them thinking, how they know how much fence to buy? Well, they'll have to, and our goal is for them to understand that they'll have to measure each side of the school and then add up all the side lengths, because that's how you find perimeter. Okay, for the read part, you'll have a student or yourself read this part right here. Perimeter is the distance around an object or shape. In order to find the perimeter of an object or shape, we need to add all the sides together. And here's an example. So here's a rectangle. We know it's a rectangle because the opposite sides are congruent to each other, 8 and 8, 5 and 5, and we have square corners. We have right angles. Okay. It says here, I added all the sides of this rectangle together to find the perimeter. On the left here, it just represents all the different ways possible to find the total, because there's different ways to add. And as we teach our kids, when you add, the order doesn't matter. You can add however you'd like. You still get the same answer. So this just presents the different ways. And this is a good time for the students. You can block this part out and have the students brainstorm different ways and then share different ways that they found their answer there. Okay, the talk number two would be explain how to find the perimeter of the following figure. So now that they brainstorm and they kind of were thinking on their own, now you actually provide an example with numbers, and you would have them try and solve this, or you can solve it together, however you'd like. So I have it here. So the first thing I would say is, what figure is this? And some might say square, some might say rectangle. We know it's a square because they only provide one side length. So we do have to infer that if this is 4 inches, all of it's 4 inches. And a square has congruent sides. They're all congruent to each other. 4 inches, 4 inches, 4 inches. And I always tell my students, whenever you're working with perimeter, use a part whole. That will help us determine either the missing side lengths or the whole. In this particular case, they're asking for the whole. We have 4 sides, and they're all 4 inches. So we can either use repeated addition, 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, or we can do 4 times 4. Why are we able to multiply? Some students might say, but I thought you said we find perimeter by adding all the side lengths. But there's an exception when all the side lengths were the same, because when you multiply, you're multiplying equal groups together. So these are all equal to each other. So you can multiply. You have 4 groups of 4. If students feel more comfortable at doing repeat addition, that's fine too, because this is new to them, so that's perfectly fine. Whichever way they do it, they should get a total of 16 inches. So after you give them time to work that out and they share, you would have, they can share using this stem. I can find the perimeter by, and then just, it's always great hearing all the different ways and the students solve this. They can come up to the front and solve it, and it's great for the other students to see the different ways that the students solve it. Okay, the right, the final of Talk, Read, Talk, Write is a write section, a write prompt. And this is something you can either do, they can write it on an index card. A lot of times I would have them write it down and then share, but other times I would have them write it on an index card and they would bring it with them to small group and we'd go over in small group, because I do want to make sure that they're able to justify and tell me the correct answer. So what is perimeter? And so they should write something like, it is the distance around a figure. How can you find the perimeter of an object? You would add all the side lengths together. You find the sum of the side lengths. So just having that discussion with them and making sure that they have a deep understanding of it. All right, that's all for today. See you next time.